Hi,
Hello,
Orod.
Soma. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. I just love it how you say good morning, good afternoon, sometime good evening, so that our audience already, they can understand when we are recording this episode.
All
You
right. Soma, before we started, you said that you're very busy. Is this because you guys focus to manage work here or maybe it has other reasons?
Exactly. That's hilarious, Orod, and I love it how you connected back to our episode for today, which is manage the work and let the worker self-organize.
Yeah.
So pretty cool. That's the second service delivery principle in Kanban, and that's how you connected my business with that. That is hilarious. Well, okay, let's get to it then.
Yes.
Well, okay, this is actually a very cool principle. I mean, one of my favorites. I think I have everything as my favorite wherever there's like human,
Yeah.
people are
Well, to be
involved.
honest, Soma, every episode you said this is my favorite principle. I think you love all
Yes.
principles.
Yes, I do. I do. And it's because think about it, like how cool is this? Because it is asking you to trust the people who are doing the work.
hmm
When we talk about managers, again, like I'm going into that philosophical mode
hmm
of explaining the principles, but when we talk about managers in organizations and whenever we think of like why the new ways of working we should be moving to like practice new ways of working, the first thing that comes to our mind is that how people are being managed. No one is
Mm.
thinking about managing work, how people are being managed, how managers play a part in that. So that's something is totally which has been contradicted in this principle, which is talking about when we are managing people, there will be always, like problems. But
Yeah.
if you move your focus to managing work, because it's all about the work. Like when we talk
Mm.
about it, Kanban is about focusing on customer satisfaction. We are trying to focus on customer centricity.
Mm.
What needs to happen is that focusing on the right thing, right? Like
hmm
focus on the work, not the worker, because the worker in this scenario, it's talking about the employees, the people in the team, in the organization who actually work, who execute to deliver the work. They are smart. They know what they are doing. All we need to do is that trust them, empower them, and give them the freedom to utilize their brain cells, uh, like be the knowledge worker they are to deliver the work. We should be just managing the work and see that if there is any bottleneck in
Yeah.
that or not. That way we
So,
can.
you mentioned that we need to trust the people who are actually doing the work, right? Which is true, but by default, we don't trust each other, right? So we don't born like this, and normally don't born and trust everyone. In fact, as part of our survival mode, we don't trust by default, right? So we need to gain trust. So, what do you think we can do so managers trust people? Maybe it's not exactly 100% relates to this topic, but because you mentioned trust, I think it's worth to quickly talk a little bit about that as well.
So, like the first thing, and it goes back to the general practices. If you
Mm,
focus on the general practices in Kanban, maybe we should talk about them in some episodes. However, visualization, when we talk
mm,
about visualization, when we talk about, flow, workflow, all those things is going to help you to gain the trust in the system because when you are making anything transparent,
mm-hmm,
powers people to make the right decision. And in traditional world, like when we think about traditional ways of working, the first thing that comes to my mind and which separates traditional ways of working versus the new ways of working is how you utilize information. So what I like I have observed, whenever you have information is considered
Mm,
as power in many places, and you don't want to share that information with anyone. Like,
mm,
for example,
yeah,
the project, let's say, I'm saying the word project, not product,
sure.
because we're talking about traditional ways of working. So let's say there's a project that needs to be delivered in 6 months, and unless it's like red and it is
Yeah.
in like 5.5 months, no one knows what's going on. They
Mm,
kept asking, and we are like, yeah, yeah, it's fine, it's fine.
yeah.
Like no one knows. So no one can say anything, do anything. It's like, now it's red. It's really red.
Mm,
There's no way we can cover it. But
okay.
we never spoke about to anyone. We never conveyed those messages, and we kept the power because
Yeah.
whatever was happening with inside this team. However,
Probably
in the new
even don't disclosing those information. It's because we don't trust, each
Yeah,
other.
yeah, exactly. And like, but if you think, like, what I'm trying to say is that it's a change of mindset,
Mm-hmm.
because like from the second month onwards, let's say the project is turning red
Mm-hmm.
because of bottlenecks, because lack of skill set in the team or lack
Yeah,
of
different
money,
reason. Yeah.
budget, different reasons. But from the second month onward, we have kept everything visible, like everything
Mm,
is transparent since the beginning. And second month onward, we kept escalating that.
mm,
So the third month, everyone is like, okay, fine, we all have to work on it together and help. It's not about blaming the people who
yeah.
are managing the project anymore. Now the focus has shifted towards a different strategy
Mm,
because it's about decision making. It's about empowering the leaders that, okay, if this project doesn't go live by the end of 6 months, what can we do now so that the risk is mitigated?
that's right. So when here we talk about let worker or people who do the work self-organize around that work, we're not talking about leave everything to these people, make any decision they want, do whatever they want. So definitely there will be some sort of governance. So we want to visualize what they're working on. We want to visualize and explicitly visualize the policy, which is how these people should work, what is the priority, the capacity allocation, all those kind of things. But I think we both agree that those who do the work, they most probably know what's best for them to deliver the work to the customer, as long as they clear about who they're working for, which we discussed it in the last episode. So if we back to this principle, manage work but not the worker, I've noticed that in organization, frequently we go through some sort of organizational restructure, something like that. So, we move people around. You report to this person, now you report to someone else, and things like that. So when I look at this, which happens maybe once a year in large organization, I've never really noticed or never really seen that they look at what is this work that we want to deliver to customer and how we can, optimize the process around this work. So why do you think we mostly focus on managing people rather than focusing on the piece of work that they're working on?
That's really interesting. And I think everyone is very interested, lead by authority. If you
Mm-hmm.
like, there are different kind of leadership and
Mm-hmm.
lead by authority because people are more focused on managing people rather than managing the work. And they think, uh, again, an assumption would be like, people think that if we manage the people
Mm,
and we tell them how to do the things, our work will be delivered like, very smoothly. Uh, well, it's connected, but inversely.
mm,
What I mean to say is that if we don't create an environment where people feel empowered to come up with creative solutions on their own, because we have spoke about this multiple times, that everything that we do in modern time is knowledge work.
Mm-hmm.
It is, unless you work in a manufacturing or like anywhere
Yeah.
where you need to physically get the job done. It's knowledge work. And when it comes to knowledge work, it doesn't just stop at copy pasting. Like we cannot just keep copy pasting solutions. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even though we want to, just code copy paste, everything is not that. You really have to think. And when it comes to that part of the creative solution or knowledge work, you really have to create an environment where
Mm-hmm.
people empowered, they feel safe to explore innovative ways to deliver their work.
Mm-hmm.
So manage work also, like it is also asking you not to get into a mode of resource utilization.
Mm-hmm.
Think about managing people. This is also another things that we keep observing in organization, is that someone will be there in a hierarchy whose only job is to see that everyone is busy all
Yep.
the time. Like the 7.6 hours that we are supposed to work every day,
Mm-hmm.
someone will be there just to see that, okay, out of 7.6, 1 hour is lunch break, let's say half an hour for another break. But at least like everyone in my team is working 6 hours, they should
Mm-hmm.
have something to do.
Okay.
And when we keep doing that, we take away a lot of valuable things from the team or
Mm-hmm.
organization. One of them is that no one is focusing on value delivery anymore, because being busy and versus being like delivering value
Yeah.
is very, very different. The second part is that people are getting micromanaged
Mm.
or managed, whatever you say. They don't feel safe, or they don't feel creative and empowered enough to come up with, better solutions.
Yes.
So this is also another thing you might have seen in teams. If you have seen that, some team is not very keen on improving,
Mm-hmm.
there has been a process going on forever.
Yep.
Everyone is like, it's one of their biggest pain point, but still you will see very lack of interest from the team to come up with a better solution. And this is one of the biggest reason, is
Mm-hmm.
that they feel that they are being trusted. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you said that, as humans, we don't trust each other enough. Well, that shouldn't be the case, because here we are not, it's not the story of the survival. It's being trusted in a different sense, is that I have been hired to do a job.
Mm-hmm.
All I want is that trust me that I have the skill set to do that job.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever is part of the job responsibility, I can take care of that. If you keep telling me you need to do this way, that will take away that trust, that I would start feeling that, okay, my skill sets are not being trusted. And
Mm.
when this happens, there goes the psychological safety out of the window.
Yep.
Like the high performing team is not in the question anymore, because the team don't feel safe to come up with different creative solutions,
Yes.
because they're always being managed.
Mm.
So I think that's where the context is, that, okay,
Yeah.
it's just trust the people to do
Yeah.
their job.
So that, to me, keeping the job is part of the survival mode, but probably we can discuss that separately. But otherwise, yeah, I totally agree with you. We need to trust people because we hire them, right? So we hire them for a reason. But at the same time, it takes time to trust people. So people also needs to show their capability. Then after a while, the managers and other peoples will trust them. And I think by visualization and other things that we discuss, probably we can um, facilitate this trust
Well,
process
one thing
with the
there,
gain. Yes.
which you said before, right? Like the governance part. Well,
Mm.
not governance, it's more like, if you think about the principle itself, it says manage the work. So
Yes. That means
whatever
governance.
whatever is required for you to, manage the
Yeah,
work, do that. So like
absolutely.
anything that is required, and your sole focus is that this is a piece of work, and how smoothly it's flowing through my system.
Mm-hmm.
Can I improve that? it's not. So I think governance is just one part, but the other part, like if you think about all the other practices,
Hmm.
that's automatically applied to that because
Yeah,
now you're focusing on managing the work, and and
absolutely.
this is what
So,
we are trying.
in this episode in particular, and in general, when we talk about Kanban, we keep saying work, workflow, manage the work, those kind of thing. And I remember in one of my articles, I mentioned work, and someone told me, "What do you mean by work?" Because I think when we say user story, everyone know what we're talking about, but at least, we can hope that people knows what user story is. But anyway, when we say work, that might not be as clear as I think it's not quite clear. So I think it's worth to define what work means in the world of Kanban, and hopefully that clarifies a little bit. So when we say work in Kanban, we look at work as a service, and service means your customer has a demand, it needs something, and you do whatever to transform this idea or what your customer wants into something valuable and shippable and basically solve the customer's problem. So that this is work, and this is service, and in Kanban, we look at work as a service. And when we look at the organization, it's the network of all this service, and that's why we call these people who fulfill customer demand, we call them service delivery team. And this principle is one of the service delivery principles. So I thought it would be good to clarify what work means.
Well, that's a good point, and I can even further add to that. Like in for some people, you can take work as your epics
Yeah.
or stories or tasks or anything, like because any service, like there will be a set of activities that will
Mm,
have to happen in order to deliver that service. So usually when you have a Kanban board, you will break those requests of the service into different part or different components, and then they flow through your system. And in different tool language, they could be your epic, your task, your
yeah.
stories, your epics, anything that.
Project, it's whatever, right? So if we look at anything as a service, then we say, okay, who is the customer? So for example, you have a project, your customer is project board, for example, right? And then you have a group of people or multiple teams that needs to work on this project from beginning to end. And yeah, as you said, we can have different level of Kanban to visualize different type of work, because this big piece of work can be broken into smaller whatever user story and task, and yeah, whatever that makes sense to people.
And however, this principle again, whatever, like how granular you break that work,
Mm,
what we're trying to say in this episode is that still focus on the work and not the people who are
yes.
doing that work. So that's all we are saying, and the reasoning that we are giving why that's important because of all the experience that we have shared with everyone.
Absolutely. And this principle, if you ask me, is probably one of the most crucial principle, because as you mentioned, this needs so we need to completely switch how we look at the organization, because when we look at the organization, we look at the people, and we know that everyone busy. We probably don't exactly know who is doing what or when they finish and stuff like that. What is the expectation? The only thing we know is everyone busy every day and no one is happy. And if you go and talk to someone, oh, I'm busy, don't blah, 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 right? Um, but this principle help us, or at least encourage us to switch our mindset and don't look at the organization as a organization with lots of busy people, but look at these services that we're going to deliver and see how we can manage these services so we can deliver them to the customer when the customer, expect, with the standard and quality that customer expect. So this is quite, to me, quite crucial, and definitely takes a lot of times until people look at the organization differently. But I think, and hopefully, this episode would be a good starting point. So if anyone listen, I think
And
we can
I can
try. Yes.
actually add an example. So from a real experience that
Mm-hmm.
how this principle helped. So in my previous organization where a team reached out to me
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to try out Kanban and they were doing Scrum at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Managers of the team reached out to me and they invited me to their stand-up
Mm-hmm.
or daily Scrum. And I noticed the first thing they were doing is that, calling out individuals to give update about
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing. And it was interesting because they had a distributed team. So some
Mm-hmm.
of their were like outside, team members
Yeah.
were outside India. And everyone was online and they were like, doing this. So the first thing that I actually recommended, and I was like, hey guys, do you want to do an experiment? I went to the
Mm-hmm.
managers and I'm like, just an experiment, a small one. It's not going to take long. And they were like, oh, we are not going to do Kanban now. Kanban
Mm-hmm.
is coming later. That's fine. Just test that how you do your stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
We can like just read the board from right to left and just focus on the cards and
Mm-hmm.
ask people in their block, not people like
Yeah.
any work
Mm.
about to
Focus on
finish,
the work, not individual.
about
So
blocked for
just a quick one, Soma. What problem you try to solve by asking them to try this new way of running the stand-up?
it was the team dynamics that actually
Mm.
prompted me to suggest that because they were a distributed team. So the trust didn't seem to be that much in the team. And now I know that some people might think, oh, what do you mean by trust? So when I go as a coach to any team, the first thing I notice is that how safe they feel to, like come up with different solutions and suggest it to each other.
Mm.
So, and you can observe a lot when you attend a stand up. So when I suggested this, the recommendation was because I just wanted to see that if they have a different response to that. And the response was like, so the manager were like, okay, let's focus on only the blocked work. We don't want to focus on anything else at the
Yeah.
moment. So they started doing it from next day. Within a month, the people in the team were calling out their capacity, which never happened before.
Mm.
So the blocked work will get
Yeah.
discussed, or people would say, oh, nothing is blocked there, blah, blah, blah. But then
Mm-hmm.
there was also like, a level of trust that emerged where people were calling out that, okay, I have some capacity. Can I take something else?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be picking that card up. Do you have anything to say? And
Yeah.
it just changed the whole dynamics where people were opening up more and they felt that they are respected and trusted because
Mm-hmm.
no one is asking them for update. Rather, people are just asking what's happening with this work
Yes.
and when can this, be delivered. So just switching your language or just,
Mm-hmm.
how you say things, it can have a very different impact on people and how they respond to it. So that was the experience I had.
Totally agree with you. All right, so I think it's time to wrap up. Today we talk about the second service delivery principle in Kanban: manage the work and let people who do the work self-organize around the work. We also define how we look at work in Kanban. So work in Kanban means service uh, to fulfill customer demands. And we talk about visualization and how we can trust people to make the best decision about the work or the service they're delivering to the customer, while we want to have visualization and transparency to build the trust between the customer and the service delivery team. Do you want to add anything else to this one, Soma?
No, I think that's all. Or
All
thank you.
right. Cool. thanks, Soma, and thanks everyone. And we come back next week. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.